Grand Rising. I'm just sitting here at my beautiful local tree. The energies have been quite intense the last couple of days, so I feel like I really needed to come and do some grounding. And I also receive a lot of inspiration and guidance from the tree. And as I was sitting here, I was guided to share a video, and that I needed to call it Awakening 101. So here I am, and I think it's because, not that I think I know it's because somebody out there is needing to hear this. So here goes, okay? Now, I'm going to talk about awakening, but I'm going to talk about it in a very simplistic explanation of what it is, and to understand the different parts of awakening, because I think there is a misconception out there, and some people can get stuck in certain definitions of what awakening truly means. So I hope I can bring clarity to this and help people, if this is you going through this, to have a deeper understanding. But I'm going to break up awakening into two different categories, okay? So there's one type of awakening that's an inner awakening, and this is what you may hear called spiritual awakening. Now, an inner awakening is an internal remembering of who you are. It's the realization that you're not just this body. It's that you're actually a soul that chose to incarnate here in this physical world. You had a soul contract, and you chose to come into this meat suit and to come into this really dense planet Earth. And your soul chose to come here because it came to evolve. It came to learn, to grow, to shift, and also to fulfill your soul mission, if you remember or awaken to that remembering. So it's also realizing, and again, it's a remembering, because when you go through this, it's like, hey, wait a second, there is something far greater than I ever realized. The omnipresent, that we are a fractal of divine source, creator, universe, and the interconnectedness of all of everything, because I am the tree and the tree is me. We are connected. It's this interconnectedness that we have with everything. So what can happen sometimes is when you have your spiritual awakening, this inner awakening, it's very common that people can get stuck into a spiritual ego. And this is because there is an infiltration of the community, the spiritual community, that people remain in this love and light, this fluff, this superficial spirituality. It's all about we don't talk about negative things. We have to keep our vibrations high, and it's all about, even if you just look on the external, it's about the spiritual gurus, the Deepak Chopras, and all of the big influencer spiritual people that I'm talking about. And it's like people fall into this trap of following other people, and they begin to, again, give their power away to an external source, when ultimately what truly is happening is, when you have an inner awakening, you remember that you are the power. So if and when you get past this initial superficial spiritual awakening, you go into a deeper awakening. And this is often very uncomfortable, and a lot of people don't like to talk about this, but it's the deep, dark ego death. It's what people call the dark night of the soul. It's the collapsing of the ego identity, the identity of who you think you were, who you think you are. It's realizing, hey, wait a second, like, I am not my name, my body, I am not what I was told I was. I am so much more powerful. I am so much more magical. It's connecting back to your divinity, your true connection to source. It's remembering that you are powerful. But in the process of this awakening, you must go through a collapsing of your old version of who you thought you were. It's facing all of the programs, all of the traumas, the wounds, the limiting beliefs that we have identified as. And this begins in childhood. You know, if you grew up in abusive homes or dysfunctional homes or toxic families, you grow up thinking that you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or maybe you are, maybe you've learned how to abandon yourself, and you go through life from this smallness, this small version of you, which is not who you truly are, because the true version of you is incredibly huge. You are multidimensional. So this is the deeper inner awakening. And in this process, when you start to go into a descent, and it looks like maybe a spiritual crisis, or it looks like depression, or it looks like, in some people, it may look like, a mental health problem, or it's like you just go through this darkness, this phase of everything in your life not making any sense. And this is the dying of your old identity, the one that you thought you were, okay? This process takes place because what it is, it's a transformation of the old you, the programmed you, the small you, now transforming into the new higher you, the full you, the powerful you, the divine source, God you, the creator you, the one who actually creates all things in your life. It's no longer about external. It's about that you create your own reality, and remembering this. So this is an inner awakening, but there's different levels of that. And I find, I was caught in the superficial spiritual awakening many, many moons ago, probably about 15, 20 years ago, where you kind of start to delve into the world of spirit, and you're like, ooh, tarot cards, and talking about angels and spirit guides, and you read all the self-help books, and you follow the big spiritual gurus, and although that's wonderful and it's a wonderful place to start, that is not true spiritual awakening. And that's where a lot of people can get stuck for a long time. That is a spiritual ego. It's like you break apart one mask and then you put on another, okay? And this is still happening within the spiritual community. And there's many people out there that are still pushing love and light. Well, we don't talk about negative things because that's low vibration. We have to only focus on the positive. We have to stay high vibe. This, my friends, is spiritual bypassing. Because if you're avoiding the dark aspects of you, that is not true spiritual awakening. True spiritual awakening is actually the light now shining all of the dark aspects of you. And this is where you need to now go into those aspects and do the inner work. And this is what I often talk about. This is what I do. I'm a spiritual teacher, transformational life coach, intuitive healer. This is where I help people navigate this deeper awakening. And through this process, this is where the inner work happens. This is the real meat and potatoes of what true healing is all about. It's doing the inner child healing work. It's doing the shadow work. It's doing the intergenerational healing work. It's facing the discomforts within you, aspects of you that you've rejected. And in this process of doing this work, you begin to integrate these parts of you once again. And this is where you come into your wholeness. You integrate your darkness. You have to integrate the dark aspects of you because you are both light and dark. And when you're spiritual bypassing, you're only staying in the light and you're still avoiding the dark. But you have to take both of these aspects of you and integrate them into one. And this is when you truly step onto your healing path. Is it easy? Absolutely not. But this is the part of the spiritual awakening that a lot of people avoid. And so no judgment if this is you. If you're still stuck in that superficial spirituality, hey, I was there. I understand. But if you're really starting to question, like there has to be more, follow your intuition and take the journey into that aspect, into the dark aspects of you. When I did my shamanic practitioner training, we were taught how to step into that darkness. We were taken into a descent into that dark space. The void is a very uncomfortable place to be, and to stay there and to feel it all. And in this space is where you begin to truly release and forgive and heal. And again, you're going through that metamorphosis. It's like that death and rebirth. Because in order to be reborn into the full, whole you have to release whatever is still keeping you small. There is the small I am, and then there's the gigantic I am. And you have to break down those aspects of you, see them, face them, feel them. Sure, it's awful, it's uncomfortable, it's there is a lot of breakdowns, there's a lot of crying, there's a lot of, everybody experiences it a bit different, but this is the real important part about going through a spiritual awakening. And then when you finally come back up from that dark void is where you've embodied all of these aspects of you that you've been avoiding. And you literally are reborn, a higher version of yourself, the version of you that is multidimensional, that is authentic, that is embodying all of your gifts, that is speaking truth, that is ready to be seen, ready to fulfill your soul mission. It's a beautiful experience. And yeah, so that's the inner awakening, okay? So now there's another type of awakening, and that's the external awakening. That is what you may be hearing about the collective awakening or global awakening. And this is about the realization that everything out there that we've been told, our history, everything that's taken place on planet Earth, the systems that have been controlling us, all of that has all been a deception, an illusion, lies. And this is what many people are going through right now, is they're seeing that the systems are all lies. It's also remembering and realizing wow, the humanity has actually, we've all been trapped and enslaved on this planet Earth. We have been disconnected from our true divinity. And this has been done on purpose by these dark, archonic entities that have been running and ruling this world. You might know them as the elites, or the 12 families, the Illuminati, whatever. Those are just labels. What I'm trying to say is that once you start awakening to the truths of this world, you start to see through the lies. And this is what's been happening in warp speed the last 5 or 6 years. And COVID was a huge catalyst for people going through this collective awakening. And this is where you go down the rabbit holes. You start to see the truths. Hey, wait a second. The governments have been lying to us and deceiving us and controlling us, and our financial system has all been a lie. It's been designed to enslave humanity through debt, through taxation. That our religious systems have all just been a lie. They've acted as this third party, this intermediary that disconnected us from God, and they became our God. And, all of the systems are educational systems, and how they've been indoctrinating children and programming them to comply and to create a hive mind mentality, and our judicial system, and how it's all just been a lie, and how they have not been working for humanity's highest good. And you can keep going on and on and on. And some of the more darker things that people have been awakening to, which is really shocking for many, is learning about the child trafficking and the adrenochrome harvesting, and all of the darkness that has been literally happening right in front of us, but we just did not have the sight to see it because we have been veiled from all of those truths. Okay, so that is the external, the collective awakening. It's going, hey, wait a second, things just don't seem right. And that's when you start questioning and going down those rabbit holes. So why did I want to break it down into these two? Well, first of all, it's important to understand that, because many people can be very confused. It's like, well, I thought this was what I was awakening to, but why is this happening? And sometimes people get stuck in just the spiritual awakening, but don't awaken to the truths of the world. And sometimes people awaken to the truths of the world, but don't go through their inner spiritual awakening. And I find many people, including truthers, including people that have awakened to the external truths, get stuck in that as well. So just like people get stuck in the spiritual trap, the ego, the spiritual bypassing, people also get stuck in the collective awakening. And they get stuck in that anger, that fear, that fighting against the system, that, why aren't people waking up? And I'm speaking the truth. Why don't people see it? Okay. And I get it, because I've experienced both and I've been in both. But here's the important thing to remember. The whole purpose of having your awakening is to see the inner, see the outer, and now integrate the two together. And I wanted to talk about this because many people have awakened to both, but unfortunately there's many people that are still kind of stuck in one or the other. And this is no judgment, my friends. I'm speaking about this so that people can understand. If this is you, if you're stuck in one or the other, then this video is for you. But much like this, you see my infinity sign, which I have always connected to the infinity sign. What it symbolizes is duality. It symbolizes dark and light. It symbolizes within and without. And you need to have both sides in order to fully embody the truth of who you are. It's embodying the inner truths as well as the outer truths. And when you can reach this 0 point, you see there's a point in the figure 8 where you come into that center point. That is full embodiment, is where you're able to now say, I know who I am, and I see what's going on in the world. And this is where you can stand in love, in peace, in observation, in compassion, and understanding that all of it was divinely orchestrated. All of it, the good and the bad, was divinely orchestrated. And the reason why is because on planet Earth, because it's been an intense low density frequency of evil versus light, good versus bad, we have to be able to see both as well as accept and integrate both in order to come back to the wholeness. Just like as we are both dark and light within, there is also both dark and light without. And if we can see from a higher perspective, which is this 0 point, is where you can see the whole thing playing out and understanding that this was all divinely orchestrated. This is also connected to this consciousness shift that we're going through. So as the collective is awakening to the external truths, and as they are awakening to the internal truths, it's also helping to raise our collective consciousness. You see, going through an awakening expands your consciousness. You go from a lack or low state of consciousness to a higher state of consciousness. And this is where your vibration does rise. this is all part of increasing your consciousness. You're shifting into higher states. And this is also connected to what's currently happening right now. This era that we are in, this energetic era that we have entered. And you may have heard it through shifting from the age of Pisces to shifting into the age of Aquarius. There's epochs of time that happen on planet Earth and in the universe, because we are all one, remember? And we have been in an epoch of darkness, the age of Pisces. It was about over 2,000 years of darkness. But we have been through many cycles of darkness. We've been through cycles of light and dark, rise and fall. And we're now shifting into that epoch or era of light. And you may have heard these terms, 3D and 5D, which I also talk about a lot in previous videos, as well as in my podcast. And if you haven't been following me, my co-host and I, we have a podcast called Infini-Tea Podcast, where we talk a lot about these things that I'm speaking of. So collectively, we are shifting from the 3D to the 5D, which is a consciousness shift. And as we're shifting into this 5D, the frequencies in 5D are all about love and unity and embodying your darkness. It's about truth. It's about compassion. It's about heart-centeredness. It's about abundance for all. Whereas in the old frequencies, the 3D was all about greed and control and manipulation and lack. And if you look at the world and what we grew up in, what we've always known is that there's always been a select few that have been controlling this world. They held the power, they held the wealth, they held the control. And humanity has been stuck in that darkness. But that is no longer allowed. And this is why we're going through this spiritual and collective awakening, is because we're breaking out of those frequencies and into the new. Everybody is going through this on their own time, if their soul is ready for it. Some people may not wake up. Some people may not go through this process. And some people may stay stuck in one or stuck in the other. And again, there's no judgment. But ultimately, we're all going towards the same direction. Whether you're aware of it or not, it's happening. And for those who have been on the spiritual healing path and collective awakening path for quite some time, are going to be holding a frequency of peace, of calm, of light, of love, and not in a light and fluffy way, in an embodied way. Because we can see the painful truths. We can talk about the darkness. We can have compassion for it. We've gone through that pain. We've gone through the breaking down of that horrible, uncomfortable pain. We've faced all of the darkness and we've come out of it. So when you come out of it, you are able to hold love for everything, dark and light, and understanding that it is all part of the greater. But it's the frequency that you hold in that perspective, is seeing it all, understanding what's happening, holding love and compassion for everyone, holding light, and being the light workers or the way showers, guiding everyone towards this that we're all moving to, okay? I'm not saying this from ego. Just understand that. I'm explaining it in a very I'm trying to explain it in a very mind analytical way so that people can understand it. But ultimately, this is a heart frequency. This is an embodied frequency. So I speak a lot about this. And I know sometimes people will say, well, how can you stay so calm when there's horrible things happening in the world? It's like, well, I've been through my darkness. I faced those horrible, uncomfortable fears when I was learning about all of the darkness in the world. I cried for days. I was sick when I learned about what they were doing to children. I was in a darkness for many, many weeks, many months. I went down all those dark rabbit holes. But in the process of going down there, I also did a lot of my own inner work. Because once again, as within, so without, what's happening out there is actually a reflection of what's happening within. And when you can put the two together and understand that what is really upsetting me that's happening out there is actually a trauma and a wound within me that I need to look at as well. It's facing the darkness within. And so although this may sound dark, it may sound heavy, it's actually a beautiful thing. Because once again, in order to be fully embodied in your wholeness, you have to see both the dark and the light. You cannot stay just in the light, but you also cannot stay just in the dark. You have to go through both. So I hope this made sense. And if this is you, if any of this made sense, like, I hope that this is helping you to understand, like, and maybe it can help you understand where you're at on your journey. And again, no judgment. There's no right or wrong in this. There just is. And everybody is navigating this at different times because they have different soul contracts, because they have different ways of how, where they're supposed to be at right now. But I'm sharing this because I was guided to share it, because there is a huge wave of people that are awakening, both spiritually and collectively right now. And it can be very destabilizing, confusing, and many people may not understand the connection between the two, because I remember I went through this process many, many years ago myself. And it took me a lot to navigate it. And I even had to reach out to a spiritual coach who helped me connect the dots, helped me put the pieces together. And yes, I had to go through that dark shit. I had to go through an inner healing journey. I had to go through a dark night, many dark night of the souls. I had to fall apart so that I could be reborn again in the fullness and wholeness of who I am. So this is why I'm able to talk about this from a place of peace and love, and not from a place of fear. So if anybody is still sharing information out there that is coming from a frequency of fear, they have not embodied their shadows yet. And this is what I wanted to talk about. So in the spiritual community, there's spiritual bypassing, okay? And in the truther community, in the collective awakening community, there's still a lot of ego out there that's pushing, truther information as absolute truth. And although some of it is true, most of it could be true, people get stuck in that. And that's another trap. So I wanted to bring this to light. I wanted to bring this forward and to help you understand and understand and overstand and outerstand all of it, and how it all fits together as one. And if this is you, my friend, if you are finding yourself lost, stuck, maybe you are trapped in spiritual bypassing, or maybe you are stuck in that dark, external collective fear, I invite you to reach out to me. This is what I do. I help people navigate this. And, just DM me, reach out to me. You can send me questions. I offer free discovery calls, and there's no obligation. But I'm here and available to help serve you should you require extra support. So I'm sending you all my love and support and light. And I really, truly hope that this video helps somebody out there that needed to hear this. And also, please share this out to people that you think might need this. And I'm kindly asking you to follow, like, and subscribe, because this is how it helps me get this information out there to more people. So, sending you love, peace, and light.